Who remembers the show called Fame? I was real young when it came out back in the day because my mom, she used to watch it all the time. I remember that show, man. But the show, the show Fame wasn't just only about kids dancing. It also dealt with a lot of stuff. It dealt with stuff like teen issues about drugs, racism, sexual abuse, eating disorders, illiteracy, and so on. And you know what? It also set a fashion trend during its time on the air. The tights, the leg warmers, sweatsuits and stuff like that. And the dancing they was doing was a huge impact during that time. And it influenced a lot of movies too, like Flashdance, Footloose, Dirty Dancing. But what I do remember about the show mostly is seeing a black guy on there, which was very rare. It was very rare during that time. His name was Leroy Johnson, played by Gene Anthony Ray. He just stood out above all the other actors on the show because I guess, they try to stereotype him. They try to make him like the black bad boy kid that couldn't read. He was illiterate from the ghetto or something, but he could dance. That's how they made the character Leroy Johnson seem on TV. But in real life, Gene Anthony Ray was smart. And he loved to read. But you can tell he was wild, trained to go, and fearless, though. If anybody set the trend, it was him. Because he had the cornrow braids in his hair, the way he dressed, always on high energy, just a whole different, unique look. And, everybody always thought he was gay because the way he moved and danced, but it was just never confirmed. He just loved the party. He was private about his sexuality in real life. But, I think Gene Anthony Ray came in a time that the world needed because disco was fading out. The movie Saturday Night Fever was years over, but people still love to dance though. And him in the show Fame just brought the dancing energy back to the young teens that was coming up during that time. But he left this earth though, man. He left this world at a very young age. He was young. He had a lot of demons he was facing, but I wonder if he was still alive today, where would his career be at this point in time? Because he was a gifted dancer and a powerful performer. He inspired a lot of people, man, especially men of color all around the world, that it was cool to dance like that. They could do that ballet stuff and be cool, I guess. He had that I don't care or what people say type of attitude. And, he was a role model for urban kids in the ghetto, that if he can be on TV, so can we. That's how he became everybody's favorite character on the show. Let's get into the story, man, right? Now, Gene Anthony Ray, known to his family as Tony, was born May 24th, 1962 in Harlem, New York. Now, growing up, ever since he was young, about 3 or 4 years old, he always loved to dance. And he was actually on the Daily News dancing around the age 3 years old. And, he was inspired by actor/dancer Ben Vereen, who y'all probably know as Chicken George from the movie Roots and some of his other roles he did. Now, Gene's family, they knew one day that his dancing talent would take him somewhere because it was like a natural gift he just had. Because, see, his family were big time in the street life at that time. But they made sure they kept him away from that life and just focused on something positive. Now, as he grew older, people started to notice his dancing talent at the neighborhood block parties and stuff. Because, at that time, right, different crews would battle to see who's the best dancers, city to city. They would go block to block and battle each other. And Gene said in an interview that most of the time it was the girls who used to do the dance battles. And he would join the girls and dance with them. And if guys would try to make fun of him and tease or joke because he was dancing with the girls or whatever, he would beat them up. He would fight them. He always, he grew up always fighting because it was rough back in those days, man. Plus, his family were well known in the streets. You didn't want to mess with them. and they had his back, and they would travel with him to the dance competitions. Now, when he got into high school, Julia Richmond High, he was accepted into the School of Performing Arts for his dancing, but he ended up getting kicked out the first year there. He was expelled because of his anger issues and always going at it with the teachers. Now, according to legendary actress slash dancer Debbie Allen, who became a mentor to him, she said it was rumored that he had slapped a teacher or something. That's why he got kicked out of the School of Performing Arts. Wow. But anyway, right, so one day he had got word that they was having auditions for actors, singers, dancers, and musicians for a movie called Fame, which was originally called Hot Lunch, but it was a teen musical film based on the Manhattan School of Performing Arts that he once attended and got kicked out of, right? And at the auditions, they said about 3,000 kids had showed up. There was even a rumor that legendary pop singer Madonna was there at the auditions before she blew up. Wow. But see, look, now Gene, right, he missed the first day of the auditions because he was absent from school for some reason, and he went to school the next day, and all his friends told him that he missed an opportunity to get into a movie. So a couple days later, his friends that ended up getting casted in the movie told him to come with them to the movie set anyway. And they told him he should try out for the role of the character named Leroy Johnson, the street smart urban teenager. Because see, now look, all his friends knew that that role would be perfect for him, because in real life, Gene Anthony Ray, he was Leroy Johnson, a wild child, always getting into trouble and always spoke his mind. So what he did, right, he ended up skipping school that day, and he really just went down there, right, just to be like an extra dancer. That's all he wanted to be in a movie, like an extra dancer or whatever. But he ended up reading for some of the producers and directors, and you know what? He ended up landing a role as Leroy Johnson, even though they had already cast another kid for that role. But see, Gene was just the perfect fit when they saw him read the lines and dance for them. And when they did a background on him, they did a background check on him and found out he had won an award as the best male disco dancer at New York's Roseland Ballroom. Plus, he was a good break dancer. They were sold once they heard all that. And the choreographer for the Fame movie at the time, named Louis Falco, loved his raw dancing talent. He loved his raw talent dancing. And you know, and he was impressed because Gene had no formal dance training, never took dancing lessons, and Louis Falco stated that Gene uncovered something inside of him he hadn't witnessed before. He said he was electrifying and compared him to Fred Astaire. Wow. And look, right, Gene said it was on his 17th birthday that they had called him and offered him the role of Leroy Johnson for the movie Fame. Wow. Right on his birthday, he got that part, y'all. And on May 12th, 1980, the movie Fame was released, but they released it just to a couple movie theaters as a little test run to see how fans would react to the movie. But then on June 20th, 1980, they released it worldwide, and it was a big hit, especially with the teenage audience. The kids loved it, man. They couldn't get enough of it. The movie grossed over $42 million worldwide, and it only cost, what, about $8.5 million to make the movie on the budget? So that was a good come up for them. Plus, it won and was nominated for a bunch of awards at the Academy Awards. You know, for the Academy Awards, it won Best Original Song, the song Fame, and Best Original Score, and a Golden Globe Award for Best Original Song. And you know what's crazy, right? The song they had in mind as the theme song at first was supposed to be Donna Summer's song called Hot Stuff. But when Irene Cara, who played the role of Coco Hernandez in the movie Fame, when she did the theme song, instant smash. It was a hit. That song, look, the song was Grammy nominated for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance and won an Oscar for Best Film Theme Song in 1981. Now, after the success of the movie, right, they wanted to turn the movie into a TV series, but only 4 cast members from the original movie ended up appearing in the television series. Now, they did want Irene Cara to come back. They wanted Irene Cara to come back to be in the TV series too, as her character, Coco Hernandez, but she declined. She declined because she wanted to be a singer. And you know, she went on to do another big song too, called What a Feeling, for the Flashdance movie. And, you know, just overall, she had a great Hollywood career anyway. She was in Sparkle and all types of stuff. So when she turned down the movie, that's when they hired Erica Gimple to play her role for the TV series. But like I said, only four of them that ended up on the TV series from the movie. It was only 4 of them. It was Lee Carreri, who portrayed Bruno Martelli, Mr. Sharovsky. He was a German teacher, the German music teacher. Debbie Allen came back. She played Lydia Grant, and Jean Anthony Ray, who played Leroy Johnson again. Now in Hollywood, they would film the series on the same location where they shot the TV shows Dallas and Knots Landing. Who remember those shows? Wow. You know, so they filmed them over there. They filmed the same shows where Dallas and Knots Landing was, right? And you know, being from New York, it was kind of like a culture shock for all the kids. Now, when the TV series first aired back in January 1982, the show took off. It took off. It was a hit on that NBC Thursday lineup. You know, it was Fame, Cheers, Taxi, Night Court, and Hill Street Blues. Now, the show Fame became so popular, especially overseas, they even put an album out called The Kids from Fame that hit #1 for 12 weeks. And they had hit songs from the show, like I Still Believe in Me. That song was nominated for an Emmy Award for Best Original Song. The songs High Fidelity and Star Maker both hit the top 10 on the UK singles chart. And they went on tour. They went on tour in the UK too. Wow. That's crazy. They did about 10 concerts. And look, the media over there in the UK told them that they hadn't seen hysteria like this since the Beatles and Rolling Stones. That's how big they was over there, y'all. When they went overseas, that's when they knew the show was a hit. And to be honest, Gene was the one that everybody loved and came to see. He just had it. He had the star quality about him. He got so popular, Gene got so popular and became a sex symbol to women all across the world that he had to hire 2 secretaries to answer the thousands of fans' letters he would get every single day. They say he would receive about 17,000 letters from fans a day. Wow, that's crazy. Plus, you know, like I said, he was popular, man, during that time. He was in the Weather Girls music video called Wella Wiggy. Now, Debbie Allen said during the interview that Gene was kind of getting out of control around that time too, and she had to check him. What happened was Gene had grabbed her butt when they was performing a song, and she was so shocked that she slapped him. She said she slapped him, and Gene became so upset that Debbie Allen was so mad with him that he ended up tearing up the dressing room, smashed and broke mirrors, destroyed stuff, and busted the door. But you know, they made up because they had that mother and son type of relationship. You know, she always protected and looked out for him because she knew he had a temper. And look, some of the cast members say a lot of the producers and directors were scared of Gene because of his temper. He was quick to go off and curse them out if they made him mad or whatever. But here's the crazy part though. Now, after only 2 seasons, NBC canceled the show Fame. They canceled it because they felt the ratings weren't good enough for them in the US. But the good news, though, was MGM, who produced the show, worked out a deal with LBS Communications to get the show syndicated for 4 more seasons. Because even though the ratings were low in America, the ratings overseas were big. They had millions of people who watched the show over there. Now, at this time, things was going good for Gene. He was like one of the most popular black role models on TV at the time. And I guess he was making a lot of money too. But see, not everybody was loving him. He also dealt with some racism around that time too. Like in 1983, he had bought a $400,000 house in a white neighborhood of Rockland County, New York, for his family. And somebody intentionally set it on fire when they wasn't home, because at the time, him and the family only went to the house on the weekends. But him and his family were going to be there permanently once his little brother graduated high school. And the crazy part is, no one was ever convicted of the arson. And the firefighters said they believe someone set it on fire because all 4 sides of the house was burning and they smelled gasoline. And you know what? It was rumored that the fire may have been racially motivated. Wow. Now, that same year, his family members, though, and especially his mother, who was everything to him, they ended up getting caught up in a big drug bust. Now, according to the police report, they had been investigating them for about 10 months, and they say his mother, also named Jean, sold heroin and cocaine to undercover officers in several buys that took place in some Harlem bars. They say his grandmother was carrying about 6 ounces of cocaine and a loaded .38 caliber pistol when she was taken into custody. His 3 aunts, his 3 uncles, and along with 14 others were all arrested in a major drug sting for selling cocaine and heroin. Wow. And they say they was even selling drugs on the set of the Fame show. According to Fame director Alan Parker, now the Fame director Alan Parker said he had to be careful in approaching Ray because his mother Jean was dealing drugs during filming, and it was not pretty. That's what Alan Parker said. Wow. But I don't know if that's true or not, because a lot of the cast members said the higher ups of the show would give them drugs to keep them working long hours and for them to come in during early hours. But the good thing though was Gene was never implicated in none of the drug dealings, but it did stress him out seeing his family go through that mess though. And you know, Gene, he stood by his mother, man. He loved his mother to the end. The whole 2 weeks of the trial, even though it probably was embarrassing for him, but he made sure he went to all her court hearings until she was eventually sentenced to 15 years in prison. Wow. That's crazy, man. But after that, right, Gene kind of went downhill. He started to spiral out of control. He was drinking a lot. He had a little drug problem, got worse. It got so bad they say that they ended up suspending him at first from the show because he was missing a lot of days. And then all of a sudden he would just show up and pop up on the set and just expect to get right in the scene. But the staff, they had to suspend him to let him know that he could lose this opportunity in his job. So they had to set an example to make him take it serious, which was hard for the staff though. It was hard because he was the star of the show. He kept the ratings high. And then eventually they had to just let him go. They fired him from the show. He was fired because he missed nearly 100 days of shooting rehearsals. Plus they say he was doing drugs in between shots. Wow. Now, according to Gene, in a later interview, he said after they let him go from the show, he spent months at home eating junk food until he realized that he put on so much weight he could no longer wear his clothes. He said for 5 months he sat at home in front of the TV and stuffed his face with junk food until one day he looked in the mirror and thought he was the fattest pig on earth and couldn't believe it was his reflection. And that motivated him to get back in shape. So what he did was buy a new pair of pants in the usual size, which was 28-inch waist. And he realized he couldn't even get them over his thighs, which left him in shock, he said. And that made him change his diet, and he started eating salad, and he worked out for 2 months straight until those pants fitted like a glove again. And in 1987, the TV show Fame was over, man. It ended up being canceled anyway, even though they had brought on a young Janet Jackson to be part of the show. But the show was done, man. It was over. Plus, a lot of the cast members, that made that show popular in the earlier years, they had left because they said they weren't making no money. Lee Carreri, who played Bruno Martelli, said that the show's cast was not exactly well compensated, claiming they was getting less than people in half-hour sitcoms were getting. He said they were making sort of a middle-class person's salary, but when you're on TV, everyone expects you to be wealthy. He also said they had to pay their manager, their agent, and sometimes even a publicist. So that money goes really quick unless you supplement it in other ways by reaching outside and doing other things. Wow. So they won't get no money like that on that show. But anyway, so after that, right, after Gene got fired from the show, he left America. He left America and went overseas to work. And he did appear in an Italian TV series for a while. Then in 1988, he landed a role as Billy Nolan in the British stage production of Carrie by Stephen King, but that ended up getting shut down only after a month. Then he tried to set up a European dance tour, and he also was trying to open a Fame-style dance school up, right, in Milan. But that didn't work out either. It didn't work out either, They say he was roommates and shared a flat with a porn actress during that time. Now, in 1992, he was arrested after stealing a bottle of wine from a Milan supermarket and used it to attack 2 men who were taunting him, but the charges were later dropped. And then rumors started to circulate that he was sleeping on park benches in Milan. 1995, another rumor circulated that he had died from AIDS. They say he had died from AIDS, which was put out by a British newspaper press. And then his mother put it out there that he was HIV positive, and Gene admitted and confirmed that he has HIV. He was HIV positive, but denied the rumors that he had AIDS, though. He said he had HIV, but he didn't have AIDS. And he also admitted to having an alcohol addiction problem. And he considered himself a frantic party goer. Now, that same year, he was trying to make a comeback, though. He wanted to make a comeback with his career. And he had a cameo role in a movie called Out of Sync, which was directed by his good friend and mentor, Debbie Allen. And it starred LL Cool J and comedian Aries Spears. I actually thought that was a good movie. That was a pretty good movie. It wasn't bad. I liked it. Now, in 1996, he appeared in a movie called Eddie, starring Whoopi Goldberg, and did appear in a Dr. Pepper and a Diet Coke commercial later in years. In April 2003, they had a big reunion with the cast of Fame called Fame Remember My Name, which was a documentary, and everybody was just happy to see him, man. It was happy to see Gene. And Gene was very honest in that documentary too. He said, he was talking about how some people were supplying him with the drug of his choice just so he can keep going and working during the time of the TV series. Just like the other cast members was saying. The higher ups, that's what I heard. It was just, they was giving those kids drugs to keep them going, keep them working them long hours. But a couple months later, after the reunion in June, he ended up having a stroke. He had a stroke right after the reunion. And on November 14th, 2003, Gene Anthony Ray died from complications of a stroke he had suffered in that June and complications from AIDS. Wow. You know, Gene never discussed his sexuality throughout his career, and in his obituary, it was described that he always flamboyantly brushed aside any questions. What's crazy is a lot of people that worked on the Fame show died from AIDS. It was at least 5 people because, you know, around the 80s, it was real bad in the 80s. His family members are still around keeping his name alive, which is good. So hopefully they put out a book about his life. That'll be dope. I like to read the book. So I didn't see no book as I was researching this story and everything, but hopefully his family put out a book about his life. You know, in 2017, I seen his uncle and his sister accept an award for him at the Harlem Honors Award. And what's crazy is I didn't even know in 2009 they did a remake of the movie Fame. I never knew that. And Debbie Allen played the school principal named Angela Sims in the movie. So that came out back in 2009. I'm gonna have to check that out when I get a chance. But I definitely think Gene Anthony Ray should be inducted into the National Museum of Dance and Hall of Fame. Yeah, he need to be in there. And looking at that list, it's crazy because I didn't see too many black dancers in that National Dance Hall of Fame either. I saw Michael Jackson was in there, Gregory Hines, Ben Vereen was in there, Mr. Bojangles, the Nicholas Brothers, and that was it. Wow. That was it. It's a lot of people I can think of that should be on that list and inducted into the National Museum of Dance and Hall of Fame. A lot of people I can think of. That's crazy. Gene Anthony Ray should be in there. Shabba-Doo should be in there. The Lockers with Rerun, all of them should be in there. Debbie Allen should be in there. And many more I can think of. That's crazy, yo. Wow. You know, Gene Anthony Ray, man, 41 years old. 41 years old. Rest in peace, Gene Anthony Ray.